The emergency beacon died with a pathetic whimper, just like everything else on the crashed survey ship Meridian's Hope. Maya-chan pressed her face against the cracked viewport, watching purple smoke rise from what remained of her home for the past 6 months. The irony wasn't lost on her that she'd traveled 47 light years from Earth only to become stranded on a world that looked remarkably similar to the fantasy novels she'd loved as a child. Except this wasn't fantasy. The crystalline spires jutting from mountainsides weren't made by some ancient civilization. They were active dragon roosts, and she could see massive shapes moving between them even from this distance. Maya checked her emergency kit one more time. 3 days of water, maybe 4 if she rationed carefully. 2 nutrition bars that tasted like cardboard mixed with optimism. A standard-issue sidearm that would be about as effective against a dragon as throwing pebbles at a battleship. And a universal translator that had better work because her Draconic was limited to whatever she'd picked up from xenolinguistics databases. The nearest dragon settlement was approximately 12 kilometers northeast, built into what appeared to be a dormant volcano. Maya had studied the preliminary surveys during her approach. The dragons of Pyraxis weren't just intelligent, they were sophisticated. They had architecture, agriculture, and, according to the limited data, a complex social hierarchy that had remained stable for over 3 millennia. They also had a rather firm policy about uninvited visitors. Maya shouldered her pack and began walking. The gravity was slightly heavier than Earth standard, and the air carried a metallic tang that made her nose itch. Red grass crunched beneath her boots, and somewhere in the distance, something roared. She tried not to think about whether it was territorial, hungry, or just saying hello. The first dragon she encountered wasn't particularly large by the species standards, only about the size of a commercial transport, with scales that shifted from deep emerald to gold, depending on the angle of the twin suns. It was tending to what looked like a garden, carefully manipulating soil with claws that could have punched through starship hull plating. The dragon noticed her approach and reared back, wings spreading in what Maya's briefings had identified as either a threat display or surprise. Possibly both. Maya stopped at what she hoped was a respectful distance and activated her translator. I apologize for the intrusion. My vessel was damaged during atmospheric entry. I seek audience with your leader to request temporary shelter while I repair my communications equipment. The dragon's head tilted, and when it spoke, its voice was like distant thunder. You are the human, the one whose skyship fell burning from the clouds. Yes, I'm Maya Chun, engineer from the Earth Survey vessel Meridian's Hope. I mean no harm to your people. Harm? The dragon made a sound that might have been laughter if laughter could shake the ground. Little star traveler, you are barely larger than a hatchling. The concern is not what harm you might bring to us. Maya felt her cheeks flush. I understand I'm small by your standards, but I'm an adult of my species. And I'm asking for help according to what I hope are universal principles of hospitality. The dragon studied her for a long moment, then lowered its head closer. Maya fought the urge to step backward as nostrils larger than dinner plates investigated her scent. You speak with courtesy and respect, star human. But what you ask is not simple. No outsider has been permitted in the Throne Caverns for 700 years. Throne Caverns? The domain of Zytharion the Ancient, first among the peaks, keeper of the sacred flames. He who decides the fate of all who dwell upon Pyraxis. The dragon's voice carried a reverence that made Maya's translator struggle with the emotional undertones. He is old beyond your comprehension, and his patience for interruptions is limited. Maya looked back toward her crashed ship, then at the dragon. How limited? The last uninvited guest was a merchant prince from the Kelter hegemony. Very wealthy, very arrogant, very convinced that his trade goods gave him the right to demand an audience. The dragon's eyes gleamed with dark amusement. His skeleton decorates the entrance to the judgment chamber. It has been there for 230 years. That's concerning, indeed. Yet you still wish to proceed. Maya thought about her alternatives. She could try to survive alone in the wilderness of an alien world with 3 days of supplies and hope that a rescue ship eventually found her beacon. She could attempt to repair her communications equipment without proper tools and pray that her distress signal reached someone who cared about one missing human. Or she could walk into the lair of an ancient dragon who collected the skeletons of unwelcome visitors. When she put it that way, the choice was obvious. Yes, I still wish to proceed. The dragon studied her for another moment, then began moving toward the volcanic settlement. I am Ithek of the Jade Wings. I will escort you to the throne caverns, but I will not speak for you before the Ancient One. That burden is yours alone. Maya fell into step beside Ithek, having to jog occasionally to keep pace with the dragon's ground-eating stride. Can you tell me anything about proper protocol? I'd rather not end up as decoration if I can avoid it. Speak truth. Do not waste his time with flattery or deception. He has lived long enough to recognize both instantly. Ithek paused, and do not show fear even if you feel it. Zytharian respects courage, even in the face of certain death. Certain death. Perhaps not certain, merely highly probable. Maya wondered if her life insurance policy covered death by ancient dragon. Probably not. Most policies had exclusions for acts of gods, and Zytharian sounded like he qualified. The approach to the throne caverns was deliberately intimidating. Carved steps led up the mountainside, each one size for dragon claws rather than human feet. Maya found herself climbing what was essentially a giant staircase, with Ithek occasionally pausing to let her catch up. Other dragons watched their ascent from various perches and balconies carved into the rock face. Their attention felt like being studied by a committee of landslides. The entrance to the caverns was a natural cave opening that had been expanded and refined over millennia. Pillars of volcanic glass supported an arch high enough for even the largest dragon to pass through comfortably. And there, arranged artfully to either side of the entrance, were the skeletons Ithek had mentioned. Maya counted at least a dozen different species represented in the bone displays. Some were humanoid, others decidedly not. All were positioned in what appeared to be naturally dramatic poses, as if they'd been frozen in their final moments of terror or defiance. Second thoughts? Ithek asked. Several, Maya admitted. But I'm still going in. Curious. Most beings who see the warning display choose to leave immediately. Most beings probably have better options than I do. The interior of the throne caverns was vast enough to house a small city. Natural rock formations have been carved and shaped into architectural marvels that seemed to grow organically from the stone itself. Channels of molten rock provided both light and heat, creating an environment that was comfortable for dragons, but almost unbearably warm for a human in a survival suit. Maya followed Ithek through corridors lined with what appear to be historical murals depicting great events in dragon civilization. Battles, ceremonies, natural disasters, technological achievements. The artwork was breathtaking, but Maya found herself focusing on the recurring theme. Dragons solving their own problems, dragons protecting their own people, dragons viewing the universe through a lens of magnificent isolation. No wonder they weren't enthusiastic about outsiders. The throne chamber itself was a cathedral of stone and flame. Pillars of crystallized lava supported a ceiling that disappeared into smoky darkness above. Rivers of molten rock flowed through carefully carved channels, providing a warm red glow that made everything appear to be made of fire and shadow. And in the center of it all, on a throne carved from a single massive gemstone, sat Zytharian the Ancient. Maya had thought she was prepared for the size difference, but seeing the Dragon Lord in person was like standing before a mountain that had decided to take shape and consciousness. His scales were deep black, shot through with veins of silver, and his eyes were the color of molten gold. When he breathed, the air itself seemed to shimmer with heat. Ithek approached the throne and performed what appeared to be a ritual bow, wings spread and head lowered. Ancient One, I bring before you a traveler from the stars. She seeks audience and requests shelter while her skyship is repaired. Zytharian's attention shifted to Maya, and she felt the full weight of a gaze that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. His voice, when he spoke, was like the sound of continents shifting. A human. How interesting. It has been many years since one of your kind has visited our world. Maya stepped forward, fighting every instinct that screamed at her to run. I am Maya Chun, representing the Earth Federation Survey Corps. My ship was damaged during atmospheric entry, and I require temporary assistance to restore communications and arrange for rescue. I offer no threat to your people and ask only for basic shelter in exchange for whatever help I might provide. The ancient dragon leaned forward slightly, and Maya caught a whiff of sulfur and ozone. And what help could a creature so small and fragile possibly provide to the dragons of Pyraxis? It was a fair question. Maya looked around the throne chamber, taking in the architecture, the technology, the obvious sophistication of dragon civilization. What could she possibly offer to beings who had achieved this level of development without any outside assistance? Then she noticed something that made her heart race with possibility. Your magma flow systems, she said, pointing to the channels of molten rock. They're beautiful, but they're also inefficient. You're losing approximately 30% of your thermal energy through radiation and convection. With some minor modifications to the channel design and the addition of simple heat exchangers, you could triple your energy output while reducing the strain on your geological sources. The chamber fell silent except for the distant rumble of volcanic activity. Zytharian's golden eyes narrowed as he studied the human who had just critiqued engineering that had served his people for millennia. You believe our ancestral systems are flawed. Maya realized she might have just made a terminal mistake. Not flawed. Brilliant, actually. But I think they could be even better. My species has a saying, good enough is the enemy of great. What you've accomplished here is already good enough to last forever. But it could be great enough to change everything. Zytharian was quiet for so long that Maya began to wonder if he'd fallen asleep. Dragons, she recalled, could remain motionless for extended periods when thinking deeply. Finally, the ancient being spoke. Show me. Maya blinked. I'm sorry. Show me these improvements you believe possible. You have claimed expertise in systems we have perfected over 3,000 years. Prove your words have meaning. Maya looked around the throne chamber again, this time with an engineer's eye rather than a terrified visitor's. The magma channels were indeed inefficient, but they were also beautiful and functional. Improving them would require understanding not just the technical aspects, but the cultural significance of the existing design. I would need to study your current systems more closely, and I would need to understand the history and cultural importance of the existing designs. I'm not suggesting you abandon your traditions, but rather enhance them. And in exchange for this enhancement, you request shelter until your rescue arrives. Yes. Zytharian rose from his throne, and Maya realized that sitting down, he had actually been making himself appear smaller for her benefit. Standing, he was less a dragon and more a force of nature given physical form. Very well, Maya, Chun of Earth. You will be given quarters in the guest chambers. IFEC will provide you with access to our technical archives and arrange for meals appropriate to your physiology. You will have 7 days to study our systems and present your proposed improvements to the Council of Elders. Maya felt a surge of relief mixed with terror. And if my proposals are found lacking? Zytharian smiled, revealing teeth the size of sword blades. Then you will join our collection of honored guests at the entrance to these caverns. I trust this provides sufficient motivation for excellence. More than sufficient, yes. Excellent. Ithek, escort our guest to her chambers. And Maya, Chun? Yes. Welcome to Pyraxis. Try not to disappoint me. As Ithek led her from the throne chamber, Maya reflected on what she'd just committed herself to. She had 7 days to revolutionize the infrastructure of a civilization that had been perfecting their systems for millennia. No pressure at all. But for the first time since her ship had crashed, she felt something other than despair. She felt the familiar thrill of an engineering challenge that seemed impossible until she figured out how to make it work. Maya Chun had never backed down from an impossible problem before. She wasn't about to start now. The guest chambers were carved into the mountainside with the same attention to detail as everything else in the dragon settlement, but scaled for much smaller occupants. Maya suspected these rooms had originally been designed for dragon hatchlings, which explained why the ceiling was only twice her height instead of 10 times. The furniture appeared to be grown, rather than built, formed from some kind of crystalline material that was both beautiful and surprisingly comfortable. Maya set down her pack and immediately began taking notes. The room's heating system was a marvel of engineering that used natural geothermal vents channeled through precisely carved stone conduits. The air circulation was managed by a series of wind tunnels that created natural convection currents. No moving parts, no electronic systems, no maintenance requirements. Just physics and geology working in perfect harmony. It was also wildly inefficient by human standards, but Maya was beginning to understand that efficiency wasn't the dragon's primary concern. Longevity was. These systems had been running without maintenance for centuries and would continue running for centuries more. Human engineering focused on optimization. Dragon engineering focused on permanence. A soft chime announced a visitor. Maya opened the door to find Ithek waiting with what appeared to be a floating tray of food. The tray itself was another marvel, suspended by some kind of magnetic field generator that worked without any visible power source. "Your evening meal," Ithek announced. The kitchen staff consulted their archives regarding human dietary requirements. "I hope it proves adequate." Maya examined the tray's contents with interest. Fresh fruits that looked almost familiar, some kind of grain dish that smelled wonderful, and what appeared to be protein cultured from plant sources. "This looks amazing. Thank you. The cook wishes me to inform you that if these selections do not agree with your digestion, alternatives can be prepared. We have little experience feeding humans, and Master Karath is concerned about poisoning our first guest in 7 centuries. Master Karath is the cook. Master Karath is many things. Cook, historian, keeper of the archives, and the only dragon in the settlement who remembers the last time humans visited our world." Maya paused with a piece of fruit halfway to her mouth. "The last time? Humans have been here before." Ithek settled onto the floor, careful not to damage anything with his bulk. "Perhaps that is a story for another day. For now, eat and rest. Tomorrow your real work begins." "Wait." Maya set down the fruit. "If humans have been here before, then this isn't first contact. Why didn't our databases show any record of previous missions to Pyraxis?" The dragon's expression grew carefully neutral. "Perhaps your databases are incomplete, or perhaps the previous visits were not undertaken by your particular human government. The galaxy is large, and not all who wander the stars share information freely." Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the mountain air. What happened to the previous humans who came here? Some left safely. Some chose to remain. Some. Ithek's voice trailed off. Some made poor choices regarding dragon hospitality. But those are old stories, Star Human. Your concern should be with your current situation, not ancient history. After Ithek departed, Maya found herself staring at her meal while her mind raced. Humans have been to Pyraxis before, but there was no record in any Federation database. That suggested either a massive intelligence failure or a deliberate cover-up. Neither possibility was comforting. She forced herself to focus on the immediate problem. 7 days to impress a council of ancient dragons with improvements to systems that had been working perfectly well for 3 millennia. Maya pulled out her personal tablet and began making notes. The next morning, Ithek arrived to escort her to the archives. Maya had expected something like a library, but the Dragon Archive was more like a living museum. Information was stored in crystalline matrices that could be activated by touch, projecting 3-dimensional displays of technical diagrams, historical records, and cultural documentation. The technical archives contained the accumulated knowledge of 30 centuries. Ithek explained as they walked through halls lined with glowing crystals. Engineering principles, construction techniques, resource management, and system maintenance. Everything you might need to understand our infrastructure. Maya approached one of the crystal displays and touched its surface. Immediately, a detailed schematic of the settlement's geothermal system appeared in the air before her. She could rotate the image, zoom in on specific components, and access detailed specifications for every element of the design. "This is incredible," she breathed. "How do you store so much information in a single crystal?" "Information storage is not the impressive part," said a new voice. Maya turned to see another dragon approaching, this one noticeably older than Ithek. His scales were deep bronze shot through with veins of copper, and his movements carried the careful precision of extreme age. The impressive part is the retrieval system. These archives can cross-reference 30 centuries of accumulated knowledge in the time it takes you to form a question. "Maya-chun, meet Master Karath," Ithek said. "Keeper of the archives, Master Chef, and the settlement's foremost expert on human behavior." Master Karath performed a bow that somehow managed to convey both courtesy and gentle mockery. "Welcome to our mountain, young engineer. I trust the meal met your requirements." "It was delicious, thank you. And I understand you might have information about previous human visits to Pyraxis?" The old dragon's eyes gleamed with what might have been amusement. Straight to the point. "Yes, humans have visited before. The first arrived approximately 400 years ago, during what you might call your species' initial expansion phase. Explorers, traders, a few scientists. Most were adequate guests. And the others? The others made the mistake of assuming that hospitality implied weakness. They attempted to claim our world for various human governments, tried to establish mining operations without permission, and generally behaved as if our consent was unnecessary for their plans." Master Karatha's voice carried undertones that made Maya's translator struggle. Zytharian was younger then, and less patient with presumption. Maya felt her stomach sink. "How many? Enough to make us cautious about human visitors. But not enough to make us hostile, apparently, since you are still breathing." The old dragon moved to another crystal display and activated a schematic of the settlement's power distribution system. "Now, shall we discuss why you believe our engineering needs improvement? Or would you prefer to continue dwelling on ancient unpleasantness?" For the next several hours, Maya immersed herself in the dragon's technical archives. The more she learned, the more impressed she became with their engineering philosophy. Every system was designed with redundancy, longevity, and environmental integration in mind. Nothing was built that couldn't last centuries without maintenance. Nothing was installed that couldn't work in harmony with the natural geology and ecosystem. But, impressive as it was, Maya began to see opportunities for enhancement, not replacement. She was learning that suggesting replacement of traditional systems would be cultural suicide, but refinement, ways to increase efficiency without sacrificing reliability, methods to expand capacity without disrupting the existing architecture. The breakthrough came when she realized that dragon engineering wasn't just about function, it was about art. Every system was designed to be beautiful as well as practical. The magma channels weren't just energy conduits, they were sculptural elements that enhanced the aesthetic environment. The air circulation wasn't just ventilation, it was a symphony of natural sounds that provided acoustic ambience. Maya began developing proposals that enhanced both beauty and efficiency. Heat exchangers designed as crystalline sculptures, flow regulators that created pleasing musical tones as the magma passed through them, distribution systems that painted patterns of light and shadow on chamber walls. By the fourth day, she had a comprehensive plan. By the sixth day, she had refined it into something she thought might actually work. By the seventh day, she was as ready as she would ever be. The Council of Elders convened in a chamber even larger than Zytharian's throne room. 7 ancient dragons arranged themselves in a semicircle, each representing a different aspect of dragon society. Military, agriculture, arts, sciences, history, religion, and law. Zytharian occupied the center position, his role apparently being that of final arbiter. Maya stood in the center of the semicircle, trying not to think about the fact that she was surrounded by beings who could incinerate her without effort. Her presentation materials were loaded into a portable holographic projector that she'd cobbled together from her emergency kit, and some dragon technology that Master Karoth had provided. "Honored elders," she began, activating her translator, and, hoping her voice didn't shake, "I have spent this week studying your remarkable infrastructure systems. What I've learned has impressed me beyond description. Your engineering represents a perfect marriage of function, beauty, and longevity that my species can only aspire to match." A few of the elders exchanged glances. Maya suspected she'd started well by praising their existing achievements rather than criticizing them. "However," she continued, "I believe I have identified opportunities for enhancement that preserve everything magnificent about your current systems while adding new capabilities and increased efficiency." Maya activated her holographic projector, displaying a three-dimensional model of the settlement's geothermal system. "Your current magma distribution network operates at approximately 68% thermal efficiency. The remaining energy is lost to radiation and convection during transport from the primary sources to end users." She highlighted the inefficiency points in red, showing where thermal energy was being wasted. "By adding crystalline heat exchangers at these junction points, designed to complement your existing aesthetic principles, we can capture and redirect this wasted energy." The display shifted to show her proposed modifications. The heat exchangers appeared as beautiful geometric sculptures that seemed to grow naturally from the existing stone channels. As the simulation ran, the efficiency numbers climbed from 68% to over 90%. "The beauty of this approach," Maya continued, "is that it requires no changes to your core infrastructure. The heat exchangers are additions, not replacements. They enhance your existing systems without disrupting them." Elder Vorthak, who represented the sciences, leaned forward with interest. "Show us the thermodynamics calculations." Maya spent the next hour walking the council through detailed technical specifications, efficiency projections, and implementation plans. She demonstrated how her modifications would work with the existing systems, how they could be integrated without disrupting current operations, and how they would actually enhance the aesthetic appeal of the infrastructure rather than detracting from it. Elder Silthra, representing the arts, was particularly interested in the acoustic modifications. "You claim these flow regulators will create musical tones?" "Yes, honored elder. The magma flow will create harmonic resonances in the crystalline chambers. Different flow rates will produce different tones, effectively turning your entire power distribution system into a musical instrument. The settlement itself will sing with the voice of the mountain." Elder Corvin, representing agriculture, asked about applications to their food production systems. Maya had anticipated this and prepared proposals for thermal regulation in their growing chambers that would increase yield while reducing resource consumption. Elder Thane, representing history, wanted assurances that the modifications could be removed if necessary. Maya demonstrated how every enhancement was designed as a modular addition that could be detached without damaging the original systems. The questions continued for hours. Maya answered each one as thoroughly as possible, drawing on her engineering background and the week of intensive study in their archives. By the time the formal questioning ended, she was exhausted but hopeful. She'd managed to address every concern raised by the council. Finally, Zytharian spoke. "You have presented us with intriguing possibilities, Maya, Chon of Earth. Your proposals show respect for our traditions while offering genuine improvements to our capabilities. This is unexpected. Thank you, Ancient One. However, there remains the question of implementation. These modifications you propose require not just theoretical understanding, but practical skill. Beautiful designs mean nothing if they cannot be properly constructed and maintained." Maya felt her heart sink. She'd focused so much on the design phase that she hadn't adequately considered the construction challenges. Dragon technology was far more advanced than anything in her experience, and the construction techniques were completely different from human methods. "I understand your concern," she said slowly. "I have theoretical knowledge, but limited practical experience with your construction methods. However, I'm a fast learner, and I'm willing to work under supervision until I can demonstrate competence. An interesting offer, said Elder Vordhack. But it raises another question. How long do you intend to remain on Pyraxis? These modifications would require several months to implement properly, and longer still to verify their effectiveness. Maya realized she'd been so focused on the immediate problem of survival that she hadn't thought through the long-term implications. I hadn't considered that aspect. My original plan was to restore communications and arrange for rescue as quickly as possible. And that plan has changed. Maya looked around the council chamber, thinking about everything she'd learned during her week in the Dragon Settlement. The architecture, the technology, the culture, the engineering challenges that no human had ever faced before. This was the opportunity of a lifetime, the chance to work with systems and techniques that could revolutionize human understanding of sustainable engineering. It has honored elders. If you're willing to accept my proposals, I would like to request extended residency to oversee their implementation. This is work that cannot be done remotely or delegated to others. Zytharian's golden eyes studied her for a long moment. You would remain on Pyraxis for months, possibly years, working alongside dragons on projects that may ultimately fail. Yes. Why? Maya thought about her answer carefully. Because this is the most important work I've ever had the opportunity to do. Because your civilization has achieved something remarkable that could benefit both our species. And because she paused, realizing the truth as she spoke it. Because I've never felt more at home anywhere than I have this past week in your mountain. The chamber fell silent except for the distant sound of volcanic activity. The elders exchanged glances that might have been meaningful if Maya understood dragon body language. Finally, Zytharian rose from his position. The council will deliberate. You will have our decision tomorrow. As Maya was escorted back to her quarters, she wondered if she'd just made the best decision of her life or the last decision of her life. Possibly both. Either way, she was committed now. Maya woke before dawn to the sound of distant thunder, but when she looked outside her chamber window, the sky was clear. The sound came from below, resonating through the mountain itself. It took her a moment to realize what she was hearing. The Council of Elders in heated debate. Dragon voices carried differently than human ones, traveling through stone and crystal with harmonic overtones that human ears could barely process. Maya couldn't make out words, but she could feel the intensity of the discussion vibrating through the walls of her chamber. She dressed quickly and made herself a simple breakfast from the supplies Master Karath had provided, trying not to think about what the prolonged deliberation might mean. In human politics, quick decisions usually meant unanimous agreement, while extended debate suggested fundamental disagreement about the path forward. Dragon politics, she was learning, operated by entirely different rules. Ithek arrived just after sunrise, looking unusually formal. His scales had been polished to a mirror shine, and he wore what appeared to be ceremonial jewelry around his neck and wings. The council has reached its decision. You are summoned to the Chamber of Judgment. Maya felt her stomach drop. Chamber of Judgment? That sounds ominous. All important decisions are rendered in the Chamber of Judgment. It is where we determine the fate of those who would change our world. Ithek paused. It is also where we honor those who have proven worthy of our respect. Which category do I fall into? That is what we are about to discover. The Chamber of Judgment was different from both the throne room and the council chamber. Smaller, more intimate, but somehow more imposing. The walls were covered with carved records of historical decisions, each one commemorating a moment when Dragon Society had chosen to embrace change or reject it. Maya could see records of technological innovations, social reforms, trade agreements, and military alliances stretching back thousands of years. The 7 elders were arranged in a line rather than a semicircle, with Zytharian at their center. Each dragon held what appeared to be a ceremonial crystal, and the air itself seemed to hum with barely contained energy. Maya took her position in the center of the chamber and waited. Zytharian spoke first. Maya, Chun of Earth, You came to us seeking shelter from the storm. Instead, you have proposed to reshape the very foundations upon which our civilization rests. This is not what we expected from a small human with a broken starship. No, Ancient One, I imagine it isn't. The Council has debated through the night. Some argued that your proposals, while technically sound, represent unnecessary risks to systems that have served us well for millennia. Others contended that your modifications could provide significant benefits without compromising our core values. Still, others questioned whether any human could be trusted with such intimate knowledge of our infrastructure and capabilities. Maya's mouth went dry. She'd known that trust would be an issue, but hearing it stated so bluntly was jarring. I understand your concerns about trust, Ancient One. My species has not always been diplomatic in our interactions with other civilizations. Indeed, we are well aware of humanity's reputation for expansion and conquest. Your people have a disturbing tendency to view other worlds as resources to be exploited rather than homes to be respected. Not all of us, Maya said quietly. Some of us believe that the galaxy is large enough for many different ways of life to coexist. Prove it. Elder Vorthak stepped forward, holding his crystal aloft. By the ancient laws of our people, we offer you a choice, Maya-chun. You may accept our decision and commit yourself to its consequences, or you may reject it and depart our world immediately with our best wishes for your safe journey home. Maya blinked. I don't understand. What decision? Elder Silphurus spoke next. We accept your proposals. All of them. Your modifications will be implemented under your direct supervision, with full access to our technical resources and construction capabilities. Relief flooded through Maya like a physical force. Thank you. I won't disappoint you. You have not heard the full terms, Elder Corvin interrupted. Your residency on Pyraxis is approved for a minimum of 5 years. During this time, you will work exclusively on the enhancement projects you have proposed. You will have no contact with your own species or government. You will become, in all practical respects, a citizen of Pyraxis. Maya felt the relief drain away, replaced by a cold knot of uncertainty. No contact? For 5 years. Elder Thane nodded gravely. Your Federation's databases contain no record of previous human visits to our world because we required the same commitment from all who stayed to work among us. Those who chose to remain accepted complete integration into our society. Those who chose to leave departed with modified memories and no detailed knowledge of our capabilities or location. Modified memories? Zytharian's voice carried undertones of regret. A necessary precaution. Your species' tendency toward expansionist policies makes it unwise to allow detailed knowledge of our world to reach your military or colonial authorities. We have seen what happens when humans view a world as strategically valuable. Maya understood now why there were no records of Pyraxis in Federation databases. Any humans who had learned about the dragon civilization had either chosen to stay permanently or had their knowledge removed before departure. It was an elegant solution to the problem of maintaining secrecy while allowing limited contact. It was also terrifying from a personal perspective. 5 years, she said slowly. No contact with Earth or the Federation. No communication with family or friends. Correct. You would be declared missing, presumed dead when your ship failed to return from its survey mission. Your old life would end completely. Maya thought about her life back on Earth. Her apartment in the University District, her position with the Survey Corps, her research projects, her few close friends. Her parents, who worried about her dangerous assignments and would be devastated to lose her. Her sister, who would probably blame herself for not talking Maya out of joining the Survey Corps in the first place. Then, she thought about the work waiting for her here. The chance to pioneer engineering techniques that no human had ever attempted. The opportunity to build something that would last for centuries, maybe millennia. The possibility of proving that humans could be partners rather than conquerors in galactic civilization. What happens after 5 years? If your work proves successful and your integration into our society is deemed complete, you may choose to remain permanently or to depart with our blessing and your memories intact. You would be free to share knowledge of our world with your people, though within carefully defined parameters. And if my work fails, Zytharian smiled, showing his impressive collection of teeth. Then, you join our skeleton collection, as previously discussed. Maya couldn't help laughing, though it came out a bit hysterical. Right. Success or death. No pressure. There's a third option, Elder Silthrus said gently. You may reject our terms and depart immediately. We will repair your communications equipment, provide you with sufficient supplies for survival until rescue arrives, and send you safely on your way. Your memories of our specific capabilities and location will be modified, but you will retain general knowledge of our civilization and positive memories of your time here. Maya looked around the chamber again, taking in the carved records of historical decisions. Thousands of years of choices made by dragons who had shaped their civilization through careful deliberation and commitment to long-term thinking. Now she faced the same kind of choice: embrace fundamental change or maintain the status quo. The safe choice was obvious. Accept the memory modification, return to her old life, and continue her career as if the week on Pyraxis had been an interesting but ultimately meaningless adventure. She would go back to her apartment, her job, her predictable routine. Her parents would be relieved. Her sister would stop worrying. Everything would return to normal. The dangerous choice was just as obvious. Abandon her old life completely. Commit to 5 years of isolation from her own species, and bet everything on the possibility that she could revolutionize dragon engineering while proving that humans could be trusted partners. Maya realized that the choice had been made the moment she'd walked into Zytharian's throne room. Everything since then had just been a process of understanding what she'd already decided. I accept your terms, she said. All of them. The 7 elders exchanged glances that definitely carried meaning in dragon body language. Zytharian nodded slowly. You understand that this decision cannot be reversed? Once we begin the integration process, you will be committed to the full 5-year term regardless of any personal difficulties or homesickness you may experience. I understand. And you understand that failure in your engineering projects will have consequences beyond professional disappointment? I understand. Very well. Zytharian raised his own ceremonial crystal, and the other elders followed suit. The air in the chamber began to shimmer with energy that made Maya's hair stand on end. By the ancient laws of our people, we accept Maya Chin of Earth as a provisional citizen of Pyraxis. Let her work be judged by its fruits, and let her loyalty be proven through service to our community. The crystals flashed with brilliant light that left Maya seeing spots for several seconds. When her vision cleared, she noticed that something fundamental had changed. The ceremonial atmosphere was gone, replaced by what felt like genuine welcome. Elder Vorthak approached her with what appeared to be a crystalline badge or insignia. This will identify you as a technical specialist in service to the council. It will provide access to all areas of the settlement and all archives relevant to your work. Wear it with pride and responsibility. Maya accepted the crystal, feeling its weight both physically and symbolically. Thank you, all of you. I won't let you down. See that you don't, Zytharian rumbled, but his tone carried more amusement than threat. Master Karath will provide you with quarters more suited to long-term residency. Ithek will introduce you to the construction teams who will assist with your projects. And Maya? Yes, Ancient One. Welcome home. As the formal ceremony concluded and the elders began filing out of the chamber, Maya felt a strange mixture of terror and exhilaration. She just committed herself to the most ambitious project of her life, abandoned her old existence entirely, and placed her future in the claws of beings who collected skeletons as interior decoration. It was either the best decision she'd ever made or the worst mistake in the history of human stupidity. She was about to find out which. Master Karath approached as the last of the elders departed. Come, young engineer, let me show you to your new home. We have much work to do, and 5 years passes more quickly than you might expect. Maya followed the old dragon from the Chamber of Judgment, trying to process the magnitude of what she'd just committed herself to. Behind them, Zytharian remained seated, watching her departure with ancient eyes that had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. One more thing, Maya, the Ancient One called after her. Maya turned back. Yes. Your crashed ship contained an emergency beacon that continued transmitting for 3 days after your arrival. Our monitoring systems detected 17 different responses from human vessels in nearby star systems. Your Federation is actively searching for you. Maya felt a chill. Are you going to contact them? That depends entirely on how well your first project proceeds. If you prove yourself capable of the work you've promised, we will ensure that no rescue mission discovers our world. If you fail, Zytharian shrugged, a gesture that somehow managed to convey both indifference and mild threat. Well, in that case, the location of your remains will be somewhat irrelevant. Maya nodded, understanding perfectly. She had 5 years to prove that humans could be trusted with dragon secrets, and the first test would be whether her engineering modifications worked as promised. No pressure at all. As she followed Master Karoth toward what would be her new home for the next 5 years, Maya realized that her old life as a Survey Corps engineer had ended the moment she crashed on Pyraxis. What began tomorrow would be something entirely different, something that no human had ever attempted before. She just hoped she was good enough to survive it. Maya's new quarters were carved into a different section of the mountain, closer to the engineering workshops and technical facilities. The space was 3 times larger than her previous room, with a dedicated work area that included access to the dragon's advanced fabrication systems. Master Karoth had thoughtfully arranged for furniture scaled to human proportions, though the aesthetic remained distinctly draconic. Your workspace, the old dragon explained, gesturing toward a crystalline console that hummed with barely contained energy. It interfaces directly with our construction networks and material synthesis systems. Think of it as a translator between human engineering concepts and dragon manufacturing capabilities. Maya approached the console and placed her hands on its surface. Immediately, holographic displays sprang to life around her, showing real-time status information for every system in the settlement. Temperature readings, pressure levels, flow rates, structural integrity monitors, power distribution charts. It was like having access to the nervous system of the entire mountain. This is incredible, she breathed. I can monitor everything from here. Monitor, analyze, and modify within the parameters of your authorization level. As your projects progress and you prove your competence, your access will expand accordingly. Maya spent the first week familiarizing herself with the dragon's construction systems and quality control procedures. Everything was done differently than human standard practices, but the underlying principles were surprisingly familiar. Dragons might use crystalline matrix manipulation instead of metallurgy, geothermal energy instead of fusion reactors, and biological computers instead of quantum processors, but engineering was still engineering. The breakthrough came when she realized that dragon technology wasn't just different from human technology, it was better in several fundamental ways. More efficient, more durable, and far more elegant. Maya began to understand that her role wasn't to teach dragons about engineering, it was to learn their methods and find ways to enhance them with human perspectives on optimization and efficiency. Her first project was the heat exchanger installation she'd proposed to the council. The design required precise modifications to existing magma channels, installation of crystalline resonance chambers, and integration with the settlement's distributed power network. It was complex work that demanded both technical skill and artistic sensitivity, since the modifications had to enhance rather than disrupt the existing aesthetic. Maya worked alongside a construction team led by Thaimon the Builder, a middle-aged dragon whose scales were the color of burnished copper and whose patience with human engineering concepts seemed limitless. Thaimon had been constructing infrastructure on Pyraxis for over 2 centuries, and his expertise with crystalline manipulation was legendary among his peers. The challenge, Thaimon explained as they surveyed the first installation site, is not simply making your design functional. It is making your design appear to have always been part of the original architecture. Maya studied the magma channel they were modifying, trying to see it through dragon eyes. To her, it was a simple conduit for moving molten rock from point A to point B. To Thaimon, it was a sculptural element that had been shaped by master artisans 3 centuries ago, and any modification had to honor their original vision. What if we approach it as restoration rather than modification? Maya suggested. Instead of adding new elements, we're revealing design possibilities that were always implicit in the original work. Thaimon's head tilted in what Maya had learned was the dragon equivalent of raised eyebrows. Explain. Maya activated her portable holographic projector, showing the original channel design alongside her proposed modifications. Look at the flow dynamics of the existing channel. There are natural resonance points where thermal energy wants to accumulate. The original builders couldn't take advantage of those points because they didn't have access to the crystalline matrix techniques we're using now. She highlighted the resonance points in the projection. But if you look at the original carving patterns, they actually create visual emphasis at those exact locations. It's as if the original builders knew about the thermal dynamics and were preparing the structure for future enhancement. Daimon studied the projection for several minutes, his ancient eyes tracking the relationship between aesthetic design and thermal engineering. Finally, he nodded slowly. Yes, I see it now. The masters who carved this channel were designing for possibilities they could not yet implement. Our modifications simply fulfill their original vision. It was a perspective that allowed both species to maintain their professional pride while acknowledging the value of collaboration. Maya wasn't imposing human engineering on dragon architecture. She was helping to complete work that dragon masters had begun centuries earlier. The first heat exchanger installation took 3 weeks to complete. Maya and Daimon worked side by side, Maya providing technical specifications while Daimon handled the crystalline manipulation that actually shaped the modifications. The process required perfect coordination, since any mistake could damage infrastructure that had been stable for centuries. When they finally activated the completed system, Maya held her breath as thermal energy began flowing through the new resonance chambers. For a moment, nothing seemed different. Then, the efficiency monitors began registering improved performance. The system was working exactly as designed, capturing and redirecting thermal energy that had previously been lost to radiation. But the real surprise was the sound. As molten rock flowed through the crystalline chambers, it created harmonic resonances that filled the air with a deep, musical tone. The frequency was so low that Maya felt it more than heard it, a thrumming vibration that seemed to emerge from the mountain itself. By the sacred flames, Daimon whispered, "It sings." Other dragons began gathering as word spread through the settlement. The musical resonance was unlike anything they'd experienced before, a new voice added to the ancient symphony of their mountain home. Maya watched their faces as they listened, seeing wonder and delight in expressions that had seemed alien to her just weeks earlier. Elder Silthra arrived within an hour, accompanied by several other members of the Arts Council. They spent considerable time studying the acoustic properties of the modification, measuring harmonic frequencies, and analyzing how the new tones interacted with the existing sound environment of the settlement. "This is remarkable work," Elder Silthra told Maya. "You've created something that is both functionally superior and aesthetically transformative. The entire arts community will want to study these principles." Maya felt a surge of pride mixed with relief. The first test had been successful beyond her wildest hopes. Not only were her modifications working as designed, but they were being embraced by the dragon community as genuine improvements to their civilization. Over the following months, Maya and Thymon's team installed heat exchangers throughout the settlement's primary thermal distribution network. Each installation was unique, customized to the specific characteristics of its location, and designed to integrate seamlessly with the existing architecture. As the project progressed, Maya found herself thinking less like a human engineer and more like a dragon artisan, considering not just function but beauty, longevity, and harmony with the environment. The results exceeded everyone's expectations. The settlement's thermal efficiency improved by over 30%, exactly as Maya had predicted. But the unexpected benefits were even more significant. The musical resonances created by the modified systems began interacting with each other, generating complex harmonic patterns that changed with thermal loads, weather conditions, and seasonal variations. The mountain itself had become a musical instrument that played the symphony of its own life. More importantly, Maya's success opened doors to other collaborative projects. Dragons who had initially viewed her with suspicion began approaching her with their own engineering challenges. Agricultural specialists wanted to know if her thermal management techniques could be applied to their growing chambers. Transportation engineers wondered if her resonance principles could improve their tunnel systems. Even the military was interested in applications to their defensive installations. Maya found herself at the center of a technological renaissance that was transforming dragon civilization in ways no one had anticipated. Her human perspective on optimization and efficiency was being combined with dragon expertise in sustainability and aesthetics to create solutions that neither species could have developed alone. But the most significant change was in Maya herself. Working alongside dragons day after day, she began to understand their perspectives on time, permanence, and responsibility. Human engineering focused on solving immediate problems as quickly and efficiently as possible. Dragon engineering focused on creating solutions that would serve future generations for centuries to come. The difference in approach had profound implications for everything from material selection to quality control procedures. Maya realized that her years on Pyraxis weren't just about enhancing dragon technology. They were about learning to think beyond the short-term optimization that characterized human engineering. She was discovering the value of building things that would last, creating beauty that would endure, and taking responsibility for the long-term consequences of her work. 6 months after her first successful installation, Maya received a formal invitation to address the full Council of Elders. This time, the meeting was held in the council chambers rather than the Chamber of Judgment, and the atmosphere was collaborative rather than evaluative. "Your work has exceeded our expectations," Scytherian began. "The thermal efficiency improvements are significant, but the cultural impact has been even greater. Our people are inspired by the possibility of enhancing our traditional systems without abandoning our core values." Maya bowed formally. "I'm honored by your confidence, Ancient One, but I hope you understand that these successes are the result of collaboration, not individual achievement. Daimon and his team deserve equal credit for their skill and patience." "Indeed. Which brings us to our next proposal." Scytherian gestured to Elder Vorthak, who stepped forward with what appeared to be a new set of technical specifications. "We would like you to tackle a more ambitious project," Elder Vorthak explained. "Our atmospheric processing systems have remained largely unchanged for over a millennium. They function adequately, but we believe they could benefit from your unique perspectives on optimization and efficiency." Maya accepted the technical specifications and began reviewing them on her tablet. What she saw made her heart race with excitement and terror in equal measure. The dragon's atmospheric processing system was a marvel of biological and mechanical engineering that maintained perfect environmental balance across the entire settlement. Modifying it would be like performing surgery on the lungs of a living mountain. "This is incredibly complex," she said slowly. "The interdependencies between atmospheric composition, thermal regulation, and biological systems, any mistake could affect the entire ecosystem of the settlement." "Correct," Scytherian acknowledged. "Which is why we're offering you additional resources for this project. A larger team, access to our most advanced research facilities, and consultation with specialists in atmospheric engineering from across our world." Maya looked up from the specifications. "Specialists from across your world? You mean other dragon settlements?" "Pyraxis is not the only dragon civilization on this world, Maya-Chen. We are simply the largest and most traditional. There are 7 major settlements, and dozens of smaller communities scattered across the continents. Each has developed unique approaches to atmospheric management based on their local conditions and cultural preferences. Maya felt her perspective on dragon civilization expanding dramatically. She'd been thinking in terms of a single community of perhaps a few thousand dragons, but the reality was apparently much larger and more complex. You're offering me the opportunity to study atmospheric engineering techniques from multiple dragon civilizations? We are offering you the opportunity to help design a new standard for atmospheric management that could benefit all dragon communities on Pyraxis. Your work would not be limited to our settlement, but could potentially transform environmental engineering across our entire world. Maya stared at the specifications, trying to process the magnitude of what was being offered. This wasn't just an engineering project. It was a chance to influence the development of an entire planetary civilization. The responsibility was overwhelming. It was also irresistible. "I accept," she said, with the understanding that this project will likely require several years to complete and test properly. "Indeed, which is why we're prepared to extend your residency agreement beyond the original 5-year term, if you're willing to consider it." Maya smiled, realizing that her transformation from desperate castaway to valued member of Dragon Society was now complete. "I think I'm going to need more than 5 years to finish everything I want to accomplish here." "Excellent," Cytherian rumbled, and Maya was certain she detected satisfaction in his ancient voice. "Welcome to your new career, Maya-chun. Try not to destroy our atmosphere while improving it." Maya laughed, feeling more at home in a mountain full of dragons than she'd ever felt anywhere in human space. "I'll do my best, Ancient One. I promise." As the council meeting concluded and she began planning her next impossible project, Maya realized that her old life as a human engineer had ended completely. What she was becoming was something new entirely, a bridge between two species, a translator between different approaches to technology and civilization. She was no longer Maya Chun of Earth. She was Maya Chun of Pyraxis, and she had work to do. 3 years later, Maya stood on the observation platform of the Northern Research Station, watching atmospheric data streams cascade across holographic displays that surrounded her like a three-dimensional symphony. The view from the platform stretched across the continent, showing 7 major dragon settlements connected by a network of atmospheric monitoring stations that she had helped design and implement. The Atmosphere Project had grown beyond anything she'd originally envisioned. What started as efficiency improvements to a single settlement's air processing system had evolved into a planet-wide environmental management network that linked every dragon community on Pyraxis. Maya had spent the last 18 months traveling between settlements, studying their unique approaches to atmospheric engineering and working with local specialists to develop integrated solutions. Each settlement had taught her something new about dragon civilization and engineering philosophy. The coastal clans used tidal forces to drive atmospheric circulation, creating systems that breathed with the rhythm of the oceans. The Desert Pride had perfected thermal management techniques that could maintain comfortable environments in the harshest conditions. The Mountain Lords, where she'd started her journey, had developed the most sophisticated integration between geological and atmospheric systems. But it was the Forest Keepers who had shown her something that changed her understanding of what engineering could be. The atmosphere is not a machine to be optimized, Elder Sylvana had explained as they walked through groves where the trees themselves were part of the atmospheric processing system. It is a living system to be nurtured and guided. Your human perspective sees efficiency and improvement. Our perspective sees balance and harmony. True mastery comes from finding the intersection between those viewpoints. That intersection had become Maya's specialty. Over 3 years, she had developed a hybrid approach to engineering that combined human optimization techniques with dragon sustainability principles. The results were systems that performed better than either species could have created alone, while maintaining the long-term stability that dragon civilization required. The planetary atmospheric network was the culmination of that hybrid approach. Instead of replacing existing systems, Maya had developed ways to link them into a coordinated global network that could respond to weather patterns, seasonal variations, and environmental changes as a unified organism. The planet's atmosphere was becoming a managed ecosystem rather than a collection of independent processing stations. The integration is complete, announced Zithra, the young dragon engineer who had become Maya's primary collaborator over the past year. All 7 settlements are now connected to the monitoring network, and the adaptive response protocols are fully operational. Maya studied the data streams, watching as atmospheric conditions from across the planet flowed into the central coordination system. Temperature, humidity, pressure, chemical composition, air flow patterns, and dozens of other variables painted a picture of Pyraxis as a living world rather than a simple collection of habitats. Run the first synchronization test, Maya said. Let's see if 3 years of work actually functions as designed. Zithra activated the planetary coordination protocols, and Maya held her breath as atmospheric processing systems across the world began responding to centralized guidance for the first time. On the displays, she could see air circulation patterns shifting, thermal regulation adjusting, and chemical balance optimizing as each settlement's systems coordinated with the others. The test ran for 6 hours, during which atmospheric efficiency across the planet improved by 12%, while maintaining perfect environmental stability in every settlement. More importantly, the network demonstrated its ability to respond to simulated emergency conditions, compensating for failed systems by redistributing atmospheric processing loads across the entire network. "It works," Zithra said, and Maya could hear wonder in her voice. "The planet itself has become our atmospheric processing system." Maya nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and profound responsibility. They had just transformed an entire world's environmental management into something unprecedented in dragon history. The implications were staggering, both for current civilization and for future expansion to other worlds. "Send notification to all settlement leaders," Maya said. "The planetary atmospheric network is operational and ready for full implementation." As Zithra began transmitting the success reports, Maya reflected on how much had changed since she'd first crashed on Pyraxis. She was no longer the desperate human seeking shelter from ancient dragons. She had become something new, a hybrid engineer who thought in centuries rather than quarters, who designed for permanence rather than convenience, who understood that true technology served both function and beauty. Her personal quarters in the Northern Research Station reflected that transformation. The space was a mixture of human comfort and dragon aesthetics, with furnishings that were scaled for her size, but designed according to dragon artistic principles. She had collections of technical journals from all 7 settlements, artwork created by dragon artisans who had become her friends, and communication crystals that kept her connected to collaborative projects across the planet. Maya had also changed physically during her years on Pyraxis. The heavier gravity had strengthened her bone density and muscle development. The mineral-rich diet had given her hair and skin a lustrous quality that her old friends would barely recognize. Even her voice had deepened slightly, adapted to the harmonic frequencies that dragons used for long-distance communication. But the most significant changes were mental and emotional. Maya thought differently now, planned differently, valued different things. The urgent efficiency that had driven her human engineering career had been replaced by patient craftsmanship that considered consequences across centuries. She had learned to see technology as art, engineering as sculpture, and problem-solving as a form of cultural expression. A soft chime announced an incoming communication from the Mountain Lord settlement. Maya activated the crystal display and found herself looking at Master Karoth, whose ancient features showed more satisfaction than she had ever seen before. The Council of Elders wishes to extend formal congratulations on the successful completion of the Atmosphere Project, the old dragon announced. Your work has exceeded every expectation and established new standards for engineering excellence across our civilization. Thank you, Master Karoth. But this success belongs to all of us. I could never have accomplished this without the knowledge, skills, and patience of dragon engineers across the planet. Indeed, which brings us to our next proposal. Master Karatha's expression grew serious. The success of your atmospheric network has attracted attention from sources beyond our world. We have received communication requests from dragon civilizations on other planets, requesting information about your hybrid engineering techniques. Maya felt her heart race. Other planets? There are dragon civilizations on other worlds. Many worlds, young engineer. The dragons of Pyraxis are part of a much larger community that spans dozens of star systems. We have maintained limited contact with our distant cousins for millennia, sharing knowledge and culture through careful diplomatic channels. The implications crashed over Maya like a wave. Dragon civilization wasn't limited to Pyraxis. It was a galactic community that had existed for thousands of years, operating parallel to human expansion without detection or conflict. The dragons she had come to know and respect were part of something vast and ancient that predated human spaceflight by millennia. They want to meet me? Maya asked. They want to learn from you. Your hybrid approach to engineering has produced results that neither pure dragon techniques nor pure human techniques could achieve. You have proven that collaboration between species can create capabilities that exceed the sum of their parts. Maya stared at the communication crystal, trying to process what she was being offered. The chance to work with dragon engineers from across the galaxy, to apply her hybrid techniques to problems and challenges that spanned multiple worlds and civilizations. It was an opportunity that no human had ever been offered before. It was also a commitment that would take her even further from her original life and identity. What would that involve? She asked carefully. Extended travel to dragon worlds throughout this region of the galaxy. Collaboration with engineering teams that have been developing technology for far longer than either human or Pyraxis dragon civilization. Projects that could influence the development of dozens of worlds and billions of individuals. Maya thought about her old life on Earth, her parents who believed her dead, her sister who had probably stopped mourning years ago. That life felt like something from a dream now, a half-remembered story about a different person who had lived in a smaller universe with smaller ambitions. There is no requirement that you accept, Master Karath continued. Your work on Pyraxis has already secured your place in our history. You are welcome to remain here for as long as you wish, continuing the projects you have already begun. And the alternative? The alternative is to become something unprecedented in galactic history. The first human to work directly with the Pandragon Engineering Cooperative. An ambassador for hybrid techniques that could revolutionize how our species approach technological development. Maya realized that she was being offered the chance to influence not just one world, but dozens, to help shape the technological development of civilizations that spanned multiple star systems, to prove that humans could be valuable partners in galactic civilization rather than just another expansionist species to be avoided or contained. How long would I be gone? Decades, possibly centuries, if age extension techniques allow it. The projects under consideration operate on timescales that individual dragon lifespans can barely encompass. Centuries. Maya tried to imagine working on engineering projects that would take longer to complete than human civilization had existed. The scale was almost incomprehensible, but also irresistibly fascinating. I need time to think about this. Of course, take as long as you require. The Pandragon Cooperative has waited thousands of years to find someone with your unique perspectives. They can wait a while longer for your decision. After the communication ended, Maya found herself standing alone on the observation platform, looking out over the world that had become her home. The atmospheric network hummed around her, managing the breath of an entire planet according to principles that she had helped establish. It was work that would benefit dragon civilization for centuries to come. But beyond the sky, among the stars, other worlds waited with challenges that no engineer had ever faced before. Maya activated her personal communication crystal and sent a message to Zytharian at the Mountain Lord settlement. Ancient One, I need to ask you something important. When you first accepted my proposal to improve your thermal systems, did you know it would lead to this? The reply came within minutes. Maya Chun of Pyraxis, in my 3,000 years of existence, I have learned that true excellence creates its own opportunities. We accepted your proposals because they showed promise. We accepted you because you showed character. What you have become since then is the result of choices you made freely, guided by wisdom you developed through experience. Maya smiled at the careful non-answer that was actually a profound answer. Did you know about the Pandragon Cooperative when I first arrived? I knew that excellence attracts attention from those who value it. I hoped that your work might eventually prove worthy of such attention. I did not dare assume it would happen so quickly or so completely. Maya stared out at the atmospheric monitoring network that had grown from a simple thermal efficiency project into a planetary engineering marvel. 3 years ago, she had been a desperate human begging for shelter. Now she was being invited to help shape the technological development of galactic civilization. The transformation was so complete that she barely recognized her former self. I'm going to accept their offer, she told the communication crystal. I thought you might. When will you depart? Not immediately. I have projects here that need to be completed properly, and I want to spend time preparing Zithra and the other young engineers to continue this work without me. But yes, I'm going. The Mountain Lord's settlement will always be your home, Maya Chun. Return to us when the great works are finished and the galaxy has been sufficiently improved. Maya laughed, realizing that Zytharian assumed she would eventually complete whatever impossible projects the Pandragon Cooperative had in mind. It was a perspective that only an ancient dragon could maintain, the assumption that given enough time and patience, any problem could be solved and any goal could be achieved. As evening fell over Pyraxis, Maya began planning her transition from planetary engineer to galactic collaborator. There was much work to be done before she could depart, systems to be documented, knowledge to be transferred, and relationships to be strengthened so they could survive years or decades of separation. But for the first time since crashing on this world, Maya found herself thinking about what lay beyond the sky rather than what surrounded her on the surface. The galaxy was full of worlds where dragon engineers were working on projects that spanned centuries and influenced billions of lives. She was about to become part of something larger than anything she had ever imagined. Maya Chun had asked the dragons for shelter from a storm. Instead, they had given her the chance to become a force of nature herself, a bridge between species, a catalyst for collaboration, and proof that humans could be partners in building a better galaxy. The storm that had brought her to Pyraxis was long over. The hurricane she was about to unleash among the stars was just beginning.